and gentlemen, you talk about straight out of Compton. What about straight out of prison? Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. And we're live, so you're going to have to forgive me for the background noises. As I said, we will professionalize this with all deliberate speed. And the more of you that listen, the more of you that subscribe, the more of you that like us on Facebook, etc., the quicker we will professionalize with you all. And that is, oh, you got help? Okay. All right. And that is, as I was walking the streets on yesterday, I saw two fellows. I'm not going to tell you what color they were. It's irrelevant. But I saw two young men running toward me. And as they were running, I saw the cop car come up behind them, chasing them. And the two young men, when they got approximately 3 or 4 feet away from me, threw something on the ground, threw it away. And of course it was drugs or something. I didn't stop to pick it up or to look at it and analyze it. But yeah, they threw something on the ground. And I said, oh my God, a parolee, wrongly convicted. Cop comes up, sees drugs on the ground. I'm walking, opposite direction of them. I just started praying. And fortunately, I saw the cops probably maybe 12 feet behind me finally get out and rush the guys and had them up on the wall. I didn't wait around to see what happened, and I certainly didn't wait around to see what happened with the drugs. But we have got to do something in this country about drug problems. I have seen it destroy too many lives. I have seen, listen to me, text somebody, let them know that I'm on, listen to me live, download it, subscribe, on demand, whatever you have to do, put the word out there. Sherman D. Manning is on the air talking about it. Call this Beat the Press. I'm the candid and transparent version of Meet the Press. I'm the guy who will ask the questions, who will make the statements, who will take a stance on something and not worry about what it does to me or what someone thinks about it. I'm not kissing any behind. I'm not trying to kiss up to anybody. One of my mentors, Reverend Hosea Williams, used to say that I'm unbought and unbossed. Unboughed and unbossed. And President Nelson Mandela said, I will never call a man boss. And they used to get upset with me in prison about that I would not call a man boss. I'll call you supervisor. I would prefer to call you employee, but I will call you supervisor, but you will not be called my boss. I don't play that. My only boss is G.O.D. He's the CEO of the universe. He rules and super rules. And I'm not some religious fanatic or religious nut or someone who went to prison and got what they call jailhouse religion. Let's be clear. I was licensed and ordained to preach the gospel way before I ever saw the inside of a prison cell. Okay? I strayed away. I became a prodigal son. I lost my favor with God. And I was not at myself. I did not commit this crime. Period. I passed a polygraph test before the trial, and they acted as if it was irrelevant. And if it was irrelevant, why would they have me take it in the first place? But we can talk about that some other time. But I do want to say that I strongly believe in God. And what used to shock guys in the prison is they would never hear me say that I was a Christian. I believe I see so much you do, I hear nothing you say. I'd rather see a sermon any day than to hear one. You understand me? Even though I'm a preacher and I like preaching. That's my calling. But it used to always get me. And what stopped me from that was a guy named Fred Schroeder. Fred Schroeder, when I met him, was a lieutenant. He was a Caucasian brother. And when I met him, he went out of his way to tell me he was a devout Christian. And he was one of the most hardcore right-wing Republican conservatives, duplicitous, deceptive all the way down to his shoelaces, cold, calculating. One of the most wicked people I ever met in my lifetime. And that's when I learned that T.D. Jakes was right when he said there's a difference in knowing God and knowing about him. There's some folk who've been in church their whole lives and they don't know God. They know about him. They know how to push all the right buttons. They know how to punch in the right code. They know, the lingo of churchism. They know how to say it. But, and I'm not even talking about hypocrisy right now. I'm talking about people who, and I just realized as I'm recording this podcast that I'm going in the very wrong direction. So I've got to make a reverse. I normally have GPS on right now. All this stuff is fascinating and new to me, but I'm getting it. Yeah, I normally have GPS on right now, and it tells me how to get where I'm going. But back to the point, that these people who, some of whom have been in church all their lives, and they'll cut your throat. They're evil. They're wicked all the way down to their shoelaces. And so I just had too many bad experiences with people telling me, oh, I'm a Christian. And especially in the prison system. And I'm not saying perhaps it's not that way in civilian life. But it seemed to me that most of the guys who told me I'm a Christian were cutthroats. And so I just decided I'm not going to announce Christianity. I hope that the way I live my life, I hope that my lack of using profanity, I hope that my kindness and my patience and my temperament will demonstrate who I am and what I'm about. I mentioned that word temperament. I thought about Donald the other day, this guy that wants to be president with the toupee, with the fake hair, this pedophile, this rapist who raped his ex-wife, who molested Barron and molested Eric. Don't get me to talking about him. I'll tell you about him. I thought about this guy cannot even pronounce the word temperament. And he sent out a tweet and showed that he spelled it like he pronounced it, Temper, excuse me, MENT. And I said, wait a minute, you're supposed to be a billionaire. Went to Wharton School of Finance, you claim. Even though I kind of doubt that story. And you can't spell temperament. And you don't understand that there's a difference in temperament and temperament. It's just a buffoon. And I've told people over and over and over and over, if Donald did not have $1 billion, and keep in mind, he doesn't have as much as he claims to have. He's a master embellisher. He's a pathological liar. There's no cure for Donald. So he claims to have $10 billion. Reports indicate that he has about $4.2 billion, which is enough. If I had $1 billion, I'd probably tell you I had $500 million. Most people move in the opposite direction. They don't want people to know what they have. But anyway, this is Donald we're dealing with. This guy, I've always said if he did not have money, we would not even be listening to him. We would not even be covering him because we would consider him to be just a buffoon, a white nutcase, a white guy who's crazy. Some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth, just crazy. But the media have bowed down and sacrificed their integrity at the feet of Donald. I mean, what else do you need to know? If I write a book and tell you that hyperbole is something that I use and that it's great to manipulate the media, I write this in a book and tell you that. And tell you that I embellish and tell you that I lie and things of that nature. Why would you then turn around and cover me, do a story on me, and interview me, knowing that I've already told you that I'm a liar, that I'm a pathological liar, and then you take me seriously? This is what the media has done. The media has aided and abetted Donald. I wrote about it in my book, The Truth About O.J. Simpson, Race, Class, Money, and Justice. And if anyone wants to know what qualified me to write about O.J., did I know him personally and things of that nature? I won't get into that, but I knew his lawyer. His lawyer represented me for years. In fact, we're friends. Just got an email from him late last night. Attorney Robert D. Blazier of El Dorado Hills, one of the best DNA experts on the planet, world-renowned attorney, Robert D. Blazier. I call him Bob. Most people call him Bob Blazier. Bob was on the trial. Bob has all the scripts. Bob, as I often say, knows where the bodies are buried. He doesn't like that terminology when I say that. but he does. This is just about the bottom line. And so, as I'm doing this podcast, trying not to, you got to excuse me a moment. Which way is numero uno? Numero uno, the store, which way is that? This one? Yes, numero uno. Oh, it's the Vermont? Yes. How do I get there? This way? This way. I'm turning left? And right? Go up? All right. So that's a live podcast for you all. It was that, or just stop doing the podcast and pull up GPS. And I'm enjoying this conversation. So you got to excuse me, And I have no idea where I'm going. I hope she's right. So, ladies and gentlemen, if Donald didn't have any money, we wouldn't be taking him seriously. I mean, here's a guy, back to the press, who manipulates the press. And it's like they like to be manipulated. It's almost like they bow down and say, yes, screw me. Don't use a condom. And I'm keeping it PG, but I just had to put that out there. So I tell you that I'm a pathological liar. I write a book and tell you that I'm a master at using hyperbole. And then you interview me and you don't call me on it. This is what Chuck Todd did, and John Dickerson, and Stephanopoulos. And I like all of those guys. I think they're good guys. But they let me down when it came to this buffoon called Donald. They let me down. This guy's a pedophile. How can I communicate it to you? And he's a coward. And the media builds him up as being courageous. He ducked Megyn Kelly because Megyn Kelly, and you all got to excuse this terminology, but I just got to say it this way. You know, it's my podcast. It's freedom of speech. No disrespect to her. I'm not a misogynist like Donald. I respect and love. I don't just cherish women. I respect women. But Megyn has more balls than Todd, Stephanopoulos, and Dickerson put together. And that's why Donald doesn't want to do a debate around her. He's a coward. He's a coward. He also proved that he was a coward when it came to President Obama. Because as I've indicated in 2011, Mr. Obama was extremely vulnerable as a first-term Democratic president, as America's first African-American. Everybody was talking about it was a fluke. He wouldn't win again, and he wasn't this, and he wasn't that. He was vulnerable because the economy was still rocky. Jobs were scarce. Unemployment was high. Gasoline was twice as high as it is today. And you had these prophets of doom, such as Newt Gingrich out prophesying, talking about gasoline would be $5 a gallon pretty soon. And there were all kind of things going on that just didn't bode too well for President Obama. So while he was vulnerable, Donald went on television and claimed, I sent 3 private investigators to Hawaii to check on President Obama's birth, and they're finding out some fascinating stuff. He told Ann Curry this. I remember it as if it were yesterday. He refused to give the name of the investigators. Why not? What kind of sense does that even make? What kind of sense does that make, to claim to send 3 investigators and to refuse to give their name? Now, that is against the backdrop of a man who's already said in his own books, I use hyperbole. Exaggeration is great. I manipulate the media. Against that backdrop, you have this guy sitting on television claiming to send 3 investigators to Hawaii to check out the birth of the president, and they're finding out fascinating stuff. And yet he's too much of a coward to run against them. He didn't want to stand against President Obama. He's a coward. He's a coward. He did not send any investigators. There was no investigation. He didn't have any evidence, because if he had it, he would say so. He would show it. So he's a fluke. He's a hoax, rather. Donald is a media hoax, and the media has aided and abetted him. Aided and abetted a pedophile, a rapist, and a racist, a man who's denigrated my Hispanic